Hello, I'm the Eternall Newbie. The extra L is for legit, because I, for one, am too legit to quit, and too dumb. Today we're going to look at 3 amazingly crazy Homebrew Dungeons and Dragons monsters. These suckers are not the type of monsters you want to meet in a dark alley. Personally, the monster I'd most like to meet in a dark alley is the Cookie Monster. Unless, of course, I am carrying cookies. But I think that goes without saying. What about you? Drop me a comment letting me know what monster's on your dark alley bucket list. Our first example is called the Commoner, Assassin. But I think Glass Commoner fits better. They have 10 AC and 12 hit points, so it is not going to last very long in a battle. But if, when it gets a hit in, with its deadly dagger attack, you're done. That's because it is a very deadly dagger. It says, melee weapon, attack, plus 20 to hit. Reach, 5 feet, 1 target. Hit, 1 slashing damage. If your target is a dragon, humanoid, celestial, beast, monstrosity, fiend, fey, or giant, they suffer instant death. You heard that right. This little CR 1/8 creature automatically kills on a hit. No save, no nothing. Did you happen to notice the plus 20 to hit? We take that, throw it in with their dex being 30, plus sleight of hand and stealth are also plus 30. This guy is the personification of Rock's Fall. No save kills are a really, really bad idea in any game, and if you have a DM cruel enough to put this in your game, there really isn't much you can do besides get your affairs in order. Now my doctor, RE psychiatrist, tells me I should see the good in things. So I'm going to follow that very expensive advice and try and find something good about this. Okay. Your character doesn't have to worry about saving for retirement when they run into one of these. And as we all know, IRAs are a pain to figure out. No, not good enough? How about this? There are no misspellings on the sheet. Good job, author. What, that doesn't count either? Alright, I'll be right back.
I don't know what his problem is. I love this idea. It's the perfect foil to a murder hobo party. Oh, you want to kill this seemingly nondescript commoner who dared to not genuflect as you passed him in the street? Are you sure you want to do that? Okay, roll for initiative. Ooh, you got a 19. Good job, buddy. Me, I only rolled an 11, but since I have plus 10 to dex, I guess that means I go first. Who could have ever seen that coming? Oh no. I rolled a 2 to hit. What was your AC again? Wow, 20? That's really good. Good for you. I'm impressed. Well, I guess that's a hit then, don't worry, it's only 1 damage. And instant death. It would appear the townfolk, tired of your murderous ways, pulled their gold together and hired a hitman. Maybe next time don't murder the bartender so you don't have to pay for your drinks.
Eureka! Y'all remember my story about getting on the boat? The one where the DM TPK'd us by having a water elemental and then a water troll drag us off the boat and drown us one by one? I'll throw a card or a link somewhere for that story in case you missed it. Well, this would have been so much faster. That has to count as positive. Our next monster is the polar opposite of the Commoner Assassin. It's a monster called the Hard Wun. It's a bit lengthy, so I'm going to try and hold my comments until the end. The Hard Wun, is a tiny swarm of medium beasts. A tiny swarm of medium beasts. Can I please just quit now? Because that was literally the most sensible thing about this entire monster. No. Okay, fine. Its armor class is a nice 300. Perfect bowling score. Hit points, which are not even close to figured out correctly, are 700. Speed. Not walking speed. Not flying speed. Not even climbing speed. Just speed is 90 million. Who does this jerk think he is? Sonichu? But hey, it only has a flying speed of 70 feet around. It's also got plus 10 to all attributes and plus 19 to all saves. Its resistances are garbage, but they don't even matter because of its immunities. Bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks that are not silvered. But if you do happen to use that metal silver to cover your weapons, It also has immunity to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from metal weapons. Not that any of this matters with its 300 AC, mind you. It's basically immune to everything and has all senses with a passive perception of 100 because we're totally just making up numbers now. The funny thing is, the Hard Wun, besides doing psychic damage to me just having to read this mess, is the exact opposite of the Glass Commoner. Look at what it can do. First we get, I can/can't do it, which says chaotic humanoids get advantage on attack rolls against any creature for the next 10 minutes. All non-chaotic humanoids get disadvantage on any rolls for 1d4 days. This part actually makes sense, because anyone who isn't chaotic would be so annoyed by this thing's existence, they wouldn't be able to think straight. The next skill is Swimmity Swim. Don't talk back. Sorry, I just gotta do something to break it up because otherwise I'm gonna go crazy. What it says is, the Hard Wun has unlimited movement in water. Wait, did it have a swim speed? Of course it didn't. That would just make too much sense. Moving on. As an action, it can use Goblins. Wow, way to come up with a cool name there. Goblins, which recharges 1/3, which I believe means half the time. The Hard Wun has a flawless chance of summoning 1d20 goblins under its control and remaining until the Hard Wun dies. See Goblin stat block. Finally, it can use Stinky Stink. This whole thing stinky stinks. The Hard Wun chooses any 10 creatures to be unaffected by the stink. The others are paralyzed for 3 seconds. You heard that right, 3 seconds. Half a round. So basically it's just mildly inconvenient. It does have some legendary actions, like 3 times a day it can use I wish any harm done to me. Any harm done to the Hard Wun is done unto the attacker tenfold. But seeing as you can't actually hit it, that's about as useful as Biff's diploma from Oral Roberts U. It also has pretty worthless layer actions like turning the floor into a pool or dealing a whole 10 force damage. But since I doubt anyone dumb enough to use this abomination is smart enough to actually drown you, the Hard Wun is exactly as dangerous as up to 20 goblins.
If aliens ever came down to Earth and said, we're going to destroy the Earth unless you can impress us with your greatest creation, I would show them the Hard Wun. Not because it's great, but because reading it would cause most of their giant logical heads to explode. And those would be the lucky ones, because the rest of them would have to live with the knowledge that this unholy abomination exists. I envy the blind. I envy those people lucky enough to have died never knowing the existence of this bane to all reason and right. When Nietzsche said, if you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. This is what he was talking about. Please join me in prayer. Dear God, please send a comet to destroy the Earth. Whoa. Sometimes I take things a little too far. I am so sorry. I don't know what I'm thinking. That was totally unreasonable. A comet might leave some trace that this thing ever existed. Dear God, please send a black hole to consume the Earth and solar system, erasing all record of this abomination to the existence of man and thou. Amen.
I can't tell, do you think Biff likes that monster? Speaking of which, our last monster is called the Aaaxentar, with 3 A's and what I can only guess was a failed attempt to get it first in the compendium. I only decided to put it in here to cleanse us from the filth that is the Hard Wun, because there's nothing too out of the ordinary here, besides the fact the author doesn't understand D&D, dice, or math. Take a look at the hit points. 16 HP, which you get somehow by rolling 16d8 plus 16. Don't y'all hate it when you roll a 0 on a d8? I know I really do. Luckily, the damage makes up for it because this says 1d4 plus 2, or 12. As everyone knows, the average roll of a d4 is 10. Finally, check out the saving throws. This guy has a 9 in charisma and a 15 in dex, yet a +4 to dex saves and a +5 to charisma saves. Not that I'm complaining, mind you. I needed this kind of mindlessness in a monster to forget the last thing we talked about.
In the 1980s, Nancy Davis Reagan started the Just Say No initiative to combat drug use. Billions of dollars have been spent on the war on drugs, and it has been an unmitigated failure. If all those years ago, instead of cooking an egg and saying, this is your brain on drugs, any questions? Nancy had just showed us the hard one and told us, this is your brain on drugs. No one would have ever done drugs again. Guaranteed. Pablo Escobar would have quit the cocaine business and become a day trader. Did you also know, most historians agree the brazen bull, a diabolical device shaped like a bull that was used to cook people alive, is considered to be the worst torture in the history of mankind. Sorry, I meant to say, was considered to be the worst torture in the history of mankind. Now all historians, and people who don't eat glue, agree that being forced to read the hard one is the new worst torture in the history of mankind. Luckily, most victims are saved by the sweet embrace of insanity in the first paragraph.
So that was the commoner assassin, the Aaaxentar, and the hard one. What do you think? And do you have any crazy monsters you'd like to see me take a look at? Let me know in the comment or a like or something. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, play your character. Don't let your character play you.
I have breaking news. I've just heard the American Psychological Association has declared all insanity tests invalid and outdated. They have now been replaced with one simple test. If you can read the hard one without wincing, laughing, or crying, you are clinically insane beyond all hope.